And welcome back. It is Ray Michaels here with Grassroots 50, Total News, Total News Nation Network. And we're here with Bryan Waite. Bryan, how are you?
Doing well. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for coming out today.
Absolutely.
Bryan, you have some very important information for our viewers. And, this is something that is always close to my heart. But give us a little bit about your organization.
Absolutely. So my name is Bryan Waite. I'm COO of Operation Lightshine. And we are a nonprofit that goal is to stand in the gap where the government leads off with funding in the fight against exploitation and trafficking of children. And the way that we do that is we go out and privately fundraise, and we stand up independently funded task forces called Intercept. And what that is a combination of state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies that they all designate an officer to that task force whose sole focus is to focus on exploitation and trafficking of children.
Well, you're here in Arizona. You know that a lot of that is happening right here at the border. Where are you out of?
So we are based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Currently, as we are, we have 5 locations in 4 states. So right now we're in Nashville, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Florida, Naples, Florida, Frederick, Maryland, and Richmond, Virginia.
We need you down here.
So a big part of why we're here is to continue to get that foothold and introduce ourselves out to the people out here. We've had some great connections, and our goal is to continue to be here and be in every state, really. I mean, that's our goal as an organization, have one in every major city in the United States.
Now, you're working more with the local, let's say, border security, you're working with the sheriffs, which law enforcement
Each location
agency?
always looks different. So it's all in who wants to participate. A lot of times, everybody wants to participate. So for sure, it is local law enforcement, and that is normally sheriff's departments or your local police. Mm-hmm. And then the government entities normally are HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. We do some with FBI. We do some with a couple other different agencies. But the main one that we primarily work with is HSI.
So, Bryan, how did you get involved in this?
So I was introduced to the founder 3 years ago. I come from the corporate space. I have no military background.
You look like you could have.
Thank you.
Right? You look like a bodyguard.
Full-time firefighter back in the day, but nothing military. But my uncle at the time was a board member as well and introduced me to the founder. And I come from the corporate space, and I've done very well at continuing to grow and do marketing things. And I've always made other people money, but I've never felt like what I did in the day truly made a difference.
Right.
So when I met Matt, and as a father of 2 myself, to me, it really hit home. And I felt like I really needed to get involved in this fight and to leave the corporate space behind and step into this role and just continue to do everything I can to keep our kids safe.
I'll tell you what, we interview a lot of people, and it seems like Tennessee is really become an epicenter. Tennessee is the volunteer state, but it looks like a lot of people are being activated there. Why do you think that's true?
Well, Tennessee at the end of the day is a beautiful state, but I also think everybody kind of goes to these great areas. Nashville is a great hub for a lot of entertainment and a lot of, it's the new Vegas, as they call it, Nash Vegas.
Right.
So, I think there's a lot of good things that bring people there, but it's just the politics are okay. And I think it's, again, just people migrating to southern states.
It's almost the heart of the people that are there.
Yes.
Is it community? Is it camaraderie? What do you think it is for the Tennesseans?
I think it's a southern thing, right? It's that southern comfort, that southern hospitality that people welcome there a lot more. And it's a slower pace of life.
You had to bring the sour mash into it, right?
So, it's what it is. And it's not exactly
Tennessee whiskey.
All of it. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Well, you know that Arizona here, being a border state, and especially when they're starting to just open the borders, as we have since the new Pino has come in. We call him a Pino, president in name only.
Gotcha.
Right? And so, you see a lot of that here, but Arizona, especially in child protective services throughout all of the states, it sometimes is a place to look for organizations like what you're doing. Are you working with child protective services in some of the other states?
So the people that we normally work with is called ICAC, and that's Internet's Crimes Against Children. That's the hotline for people that send in tips that feel like people.
Is that a governmental
Yes.
or not NGO?
Yeah, it is a government.
Okay.
ICAC, yep. So that's a law enforcement agency that handles all these cyber tips that come in. So that's our main. That's as a task force. That's where we get most of our tips. That's our reactive work. Is we'll send in those tips. And the thing that we really want to focus on as an organization is continuing to educate people on the difference, right, of trafficking and exploitation.
Right.
And how, trafficking is such a big buzzword. Everybody hears trafficking. They've seen it in movies. They hear it on government conversations. But nobody really brings up that fight against exploitation of children. And what's the sad part is...
Doesn't it run hand in hand?
They sometimes correlate and cross over, but it's normally not. So trafficking is force, fraud, or coercion, right? And it's normally for a monetary exchange, right? You're selling a person for money,
Right.
where the exploitation of a child is a predilectional thing that they want to do, and it's free. So, to give you a quick instance, so we took down one of the biggest darknet boards. I want to say had tens of millions of people that were members of this board. And if I was to ask you, how much money do you think that board produced a year?
Oh, it's astronomical.
$0. That's what exploitation is. It's that sexual predilection of the abuse of a child.
Wow.
So that's what people think. It's like, oh, well, they're selling these kids. No, the odds of a child, and I'll just use this conference, the odds of a child walking down the hallways, getting taken, right, and then being sex trafficked, very, 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 very slim. The odds of a child walking the hallways today with its father going home, being sexually abused by its father, and him taking that content, putting it online and sharing with people, most likely could happen.
Wow. Now, are you boots on the ground? Is your organization literally boots on the ground, or is
So-
it making people aware of
Correct.
what's going on?
Both. So we're necessarily not boots on the ground. The way that we stand up Intercept, right, is we understand that local law enforcement agencies are very understaffed. We all know that. They're under-resourced.
Right.
I mean, the government spends $40 billion a year on the counter-drug war. That's with a B. In the fight against exploitation and trafficking, they spend $200 million with an M. So that disparity shows you where there's so many resources and so many things that these detectives on the front lines need.
Right.
And that's where, as an organization, we step in. So we, as an organization, we don't do the work. We set up the task force. Privately, they have their own boards. They convene over what they do and how they do it. What we do is just empower them. We give them the resources. We give them
Right.
technology. Everything that government does not give them, we give them all those tools. Because a lot of times, like I said, the detectives have so many narcotics things that if there's a person, normally it's a guy with just one laptop in a corner.
So your role is really support,
Absolutely.
right?
Our-
And
we-
encourage, support.
Yep. So we call it our core E's, actually: equip, empower, and educate. And that is our goal as an organization.
Wow.
It's to empower and equip these guys with everything they need so they can focus on this job, not get pulled onto narcotics things, which is important.
Right.
We're not saying it's not. SVU cases, but to give them the power and the time to solely focus on exploitation and trafficking of children.
Brian, wouldn't it be wonderful if we can just change the perception and not even create that's a marketplace for things to happen?
Our goal is to put ourselves out of a job. The
Yeah.
fact that there is an organization that has to step up and has to do the fundraising
Right.
and has to go out there and give these guys the resources that the government should be getting. I mean, we're sending, you guys have seen trillions of dollars overseas. If they just gave us one of those trillion, the impact that we could truly make here in the United States to protect our children
Right.
would be astronomical.
Wow. Well, Brian Waite, thank you so much for joining us. Give us your website, please.
Absolutely. It is www.operationlightshine.org. You can follow us on our social media as well, Operation Lightshine. There's great ways, educational tools on there, resources. And of course, our biggest thing is continue to educate people who we are so you guys can donate so we can continue to give the funds to these officers that they need.
OperationLightshine.org. It's Brian Waite. Thanks so much, Brian, for
Thank you,
joining
guys.
us.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful. We're here at America Fest 2023. I'm Ray Michaels for Grassroots 50, Total News, Total News Nation Network. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.